The shower was running when I found them. I hadn't been looking for anything in particular. That's what I kept telling myself as I sat on the edge of our bed, my husband's phone illuminating my face in the dim light of our bedroom. The device had buzzed 3 times in quick succession while he was showering, and something, intuition perhaps, or the culmination of 100 tiny suspicions, made me reach for it. 3 notifications, all from someone saved simply as A. Can't wait for tomorrow. Same time, same place? I miss the way you look at me when no one else is around. Delete these messages when you're done reading them. My hands trembled as I swiped to unlock the phone. Nathan's password was our anniversary date, a fact that now felt like a twisted joke. The bathroom door remained closed, steam seeping out from underneath as the shower continued to run. He always took long showers. 20 minutes, sometimes 30. Enough time. The messages from A went back months. I scrolled through them, each word like a tiny knife slipping between my ribs. Pictures, plans, intimacies that had once been reserved just for me, now shared with someone else. I felt physically ill, my stomach churning as my marriage dissolved before my eyes. Reduced to pixels on a screen. Hey, have you seen my... Nathan stood in the doorway, a towel wrapped around his waist, droplets of water still clinging to his shoulders. He froze when he saw what I was holding. I looked up at him, my face oddly calm despite the hurricane raging inside me. Who's A? 6 years earlier, I'd met Nathan Bennett at my best friend Zoe's gallery opening in Chicago. I was 27, working as an editor at a publishing house, and had just ended a 2-year relationship that had gone nowhere. Nathan was 32, self-assured, with a smile that transformed his entire face. He was a financial analyst who spoke about his work with genuine passion, a quality I found immediately attractive. He couldn't take his eyes off you, Zoe told me later that night over drinks. Trust me, Olivia. I've known Nathan for years. He doesn't look at women that way. Our courtship was a whirlwind. Weekend trips to Michigan wineries, surprise picnics in the park, long conversations about books, politics, our childhoods. Nathan had grown up wealthy in Lake Forest, while I was raised by a single mother in a small apartment in Rogers Park. Our backgrounds couldn't have been more different, but it never seemed to matter. You're real, he told me once as we lay in bed, tracing the outline of my face with his finger. You don't pretend to be something you're not. Do you know how rare that is? We were married after 14 months of dating. The wedding was small but elegant, held in the garden of his parents' estate. His mother, Catherine, had initially been cool toward me. I wasn't from their social circle, but had gradually warmed up, impressed by my education and career ambitions. You'll be good for Nathan, she told me at our rehearsal dinner, her voice slightly loosened by champagne. He needs someone practical. God knows the women he dated before you weren't. The first 3 years of our marriage were nearly perfect. We bought a brownstone in Lincoln Park, traveled to Europe twice a year, and began tentatively discussing children. Nathan's career at the investment firm continued to climb, while I was promoted to senior editor, specializing in literary fiction. The subtle shifts began in our 4th year together. Nathan started working later. Weekend trips were postponed, then canceled. He installed a home gym in our basement and spent hours there instead of going to bed with me. I told myself it was normal, the natural evolution of a marriage past its honeymoon phase. But there were other changes, too. He password protected his laptop. He began taking his phone with him everywhere, even to the shower. He started arguments over trivial things, then apologized with extravagant gifts. A pattern of distance and overcompensation that, in retrospect, should have been obvious. Marriage takes work, my mother said during one of our weekly phone calls when I hinted at my concerns. Your father and I had rough patches too before he left. I didn't want to end up like my mother, alone at 40 with a child and a broken heart. So I worked harder, planned date nights, spiced up our intimacy, pretended not to notice when Nathan came home smelling of unfamiliar perfume, claiming he'd been at a work dinner with clients. Then came the night of the charity gala, 3 weeks before I found the messages. Nathan's firm had sponsored a table at a black tie event for children's literacy, a cause close to my heart as an editor. I'd been looking forward to it for months, had bought a new dress, had my hair done. "Something's come up at work," Nathan told me that morning. "You should still go, though. Take Zoe." I did take Zoe, who was now the director of her own gallery. We were seated at a table with several of Nathan's colleagues and their spouses, including his boss, Marcus Hayes, and Marcus's wife, Ariane. Adrienne Hayes was stunning in a red dress that complemented her auburn hair. She worked as a curator at the Art Institute, a job she'd landed shortly after marrying Marcus 3 years ago. I'd met her a handful of times at company functions and had always found her pleasant if slightly reserved. "No Nathan tonight?" she asked, taking the seat beside me. "Work emergency," I replied, sipping my champagne. "What about Marcus?" A flicker of something, annoyance, concern, crossed her face before she composed herself. "Same. They must be working together." Later that night, after several glasses of wine, Zoe pulled me aside. "Have you noticed anything off about Nathan lately?" My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "Nothing specific, just Marcus mentioned that Nathan's been distracted at work. Missing meetings, taking long lunches. He's under a lot of pressure with the new clients," I defended. But the seed of doubt had been planted. The next day, I called Nathan's office during what should have been a client meeting he'd mentioned. His assistant, Barbara, sounded confused. "Mr. Bennett called in sick today, Mrs. Bennett. Would you like me to try his cell?" I told her no and hung up, my hands shaking. That evening, when Nathan came home with takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant and a bouquet of peonies, I didn't ask where he'd been. Instead, I watched him more carefully. I noticed how he positioned himself so I couldn't see his phone screen when texts came in, how he took calls in the other room, how he'd become vague about his schedule, using work as a blanket explanation for his absences. For the next 2 weeks, I said nothing, but I began to document everything. Times he said he was working late, receipts in his pockets from restaurants we'd never been to together. The subtle change in how he touched me, less frequently, more mechanically, as if fulfilling an obligation. And then came the day of the shower and the messages, and my world shattered into 1,000 painful pieces. "Who's A?" I repeated, my voice steadier than I felt. Nathan's face went through a series of expressions: shock, anger, fear, before settling on indignation. "You're going through my phone? What the hell, Olivia?" "Answer the question." I stood up, still clutching his phone. "Who is A, and why are they talking about seeing you tomorrow?" He snatched the phone from my hand. "This is a complete invasion of privacy." "Privacy?" I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign to my own ears. "We're married, Nathan. We sleep in the same bed. We share a life. At least I thought we did." He turned away, typing something quickly, deleting the evidence, no doubt, before facing me again. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." My voice dropped to a whisper. "It's Adrienne Hayes, isn't it?" The flash of panic in his eyes confirmed what I already knew. Adrienne Hayes, his boss's wife. The beautiful, sophisticated curator with the auburn hair and perfect pedigree. The kind of woman his mother would have wanted him to marry in the first place. "Liv, please." "How long?" I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the warm June evening. Nathan ran a hand through his damp hair, his expression calculating. I could almost see him weighing his options, deciding how much to admit to. "A few months?" he finally said. It didn't mean anything at first. Just drinks after a company event when Marcus couldn't make it. And now it means, what exactly? I sank back down onto the bed, my legs unable to support me any longer. "I don't know." His voice softened, taking on the persuasive tone he used when negotiating deals. "It got complicated. Marcus has been focused on the Hong Kong acquisition. They've been having problems. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Nathan. You made choices. Every secret drink, every lie about working late, every time you touched her. Those were all choices." "I've ended it," he said quickly. "Tonight, in fact. That's what those messages were about. She's upset, but it's over." I stared at him. This man I'd shared my life with for 6 years, and realized I no longer knew who he was. Or perhaps I was finally seeing the real Nathan Bennett, stripped of the charm and the careful pretenses. You're lying. I stood up again, a strange calm settling over me. I saw the messages, Nathan. Can't wait for tomorrow. Same time, same place. Those aren't the words of someone who's been dumped. His expression hardened. What do you want me to say, Olivia? That I fucked up? Fine, I fucked up. But people make mistakes. Marriages survive this kind of thing all the time. Do they? I moved toward the door, needing space between us. Or do people just learn to live with the betrayal because they're too afraid to leave? Where are you going? His voice rose as I grabbed my purse from the dresser. Out. I need to think. So that's it? You're just going to walk out in the middle of a conversation about our marriage? I turned to look at him one last time before leaving. Our marriage ended the moment you decided to sleep with another woman, Nathan. Anything that comes next is just the aftermath. I drove aimlessly for hours, eventually ending up at Zoe's apartment. She opened the door in her pajamas, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a fierce hug. Nathan's cheating on me, I said into her shoulder. With Adrian Hayes. She stiffened but didn't seem surprised. Marcus's wife? That son of a bitch, I pulled back. You knew? Zoe guided me to her couch, handed me a glass of wine. I suspected something was going on with him. I've known Nathan too long not to notice when he's hiding something. But Adrian? That's a special kind of stupid, even for him. He says he ended it, but he's lying. I took a long sip of wine. He's seeing her tomorrow. What are you going to do? I stared into my glass, watching the red liquid catch the light. I don't know. Leave him, I guess. Just like that? After 6 years? What choice do I have, Zoe? Stay with a man who's been lying to my face? Who might still be lying to me right now? She was quiet for a moment, then said carefully, There's another option. You could find out exactly what you're dealing with before you make any decisions. What do you mean? A small, mischievous smile played on her lips. I mean, if he's meeting her tomorrow, don't you want to know where? Don't you deserve to see the truth with your own eyes? I frowned. You're suggesting I spy on my husband? I'm suggesting you gather information before confronting a man who's already proven he's comfortable lying to you. She squeezed my hand. Knowledge is power, Liv. That night, sleepless on Zoe's couch, I made my decision. I wouldn't confront Nathan again, not yet. First, I would discover exactly what I was dealing with. And then, only then, would I decide how to respond. The next morning, I called in sick to work and returned home after Nathan had left for the office. His behavior had been predictable. 3 apologetic texts, 1 voicemail expressing concern about where I'd spent the night, but no admission of his planned rendezvous. I sat at our kitchen island, opened my laptop, and did something I'd never done before. I logged into our cell phone account and looked at Nathan's call and text history. Most of the recent calls to one number, not saved in the account, but clearly Adrian's. The pattern was consistent, calls or texts in the early afternoon, often followed by Nathan working late those same evenings. Next, I checked our joint credit card statements. Charges at a hotel downtown, the Langham, every other Thursday for the past 4 months. Always the same amount, enough for lunch and presumably a room for a few hours. Today was Thursday. The final confirmation came when I called his office again, using the pretext of scheduling a surprise lunch. I'm sorry, Mrs. Bennett, Barbara said. Mr. Bennett has his standing lunch meeting today. He's unavailable between noon and 3. Standing lunch meeting. For 3 hours. Every other Thursday. I thanked her and hung up, a plan already forming in my mind. If Nathan wanted to conduct his affair in a luxury hotel on our joint credit card, then perhaps it was time I enjoyed some of those amenities as well. The Langham Hotel lobby was a study in understated elegance, cream marble floors, plush seating areas, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. I arrived at 12:30, dressed in a black sheath dress and sunglasses, my hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, anonymous but polished, just another businesswoman meeting a client for lunch. I took a seat in the lobby bar with a clear view of both the restaurant entrance and the elevators. I ordered a sparkling water, opened my Kindle, and waited. At 12:45, Nathan walked in. He wore his navy suit, my favorite, and carried a small gift bag from a high-end jewelry store. My wedding ring suddenly felt heavy on my finger. 10 minutes later, Adrienne arrived. Her auburn hair was loose around her shoulders, and she wore a simple but expensive-looking white dress. She didn't check in at the front desk, which meant Nathan had already arranged for the room. Instead, she walked directly to the restaurant, where Nathan was waiting. Through the glass walls of the restaurant, I watched them embrace, a lingering kiss that was definitely not between colleagues or casual friends. They were seated at a corner table, their conversation animated and intimate. Twice, Nathan reached across to touch her hand. Once, she leaned in to whisper something that made him laugh, that full-bodied laugh I hadn't heard in months. I considered confronting them there, creating a scene in the elegant restaurant, but something held me back. Not fear, but a desire for something more substantial than a public embarrassment that Nathan would eventually charm his way out of. They finished lunch at 1:30 and headed for the elevators. I waited 5 minutes, then approached the front desk. "I'm so embarrassed," I told the young man at reception, removing my sunglasses. "My husband and I had a disagreement this morning, and he left for our anniversary lunch without me." He's probably wondering where I am. "Your husband's name, ma'am?" "Nathan Bennett." "I believe he's already checked in." The clerk typed something into his computer. "Yes, Mr. Bennett is in room 1214. Would you like me to call up?" "No," I smiled, slipping my wedding ring prominently into view. "I'd like to surprise him. Could I possibly get a key? I seem to have left mine at home in all the rush." He hesitated only briefly before my wedding ring and earnest expression did their work. "Of course, Mrs. Bennett. Just need to see your ID for verification." Minutes later, I stood in the elevator, keycard in hand, a strange calm settling over me. What I was about to do would change everything, but I needed to see it. Needed the stark, undeniable truth of their betrayal before I could decide what came next. The 12th floor was silent except for the distant sound of a housekeeping cart. Room 1214 was at the end of the hallway, a do not disturb sign hanging from the doorknob. I stood outside for a moment listening but heard nothing. With a deep breath, I slid the keycard into the slot and opened the door. The suite was spacious and sunny, with a separate sitting area where Nathan and Adrienne's clothes were draped carelessly over a chair. The bedroom door was ajar, and from inside came the unmistakable sounds of intimacy, soft moans and whispers that made my stomach clench. I should have felt rage, or heartbreak, or even the sick fascination of witnessing something forbidden. Instead, I felt oddly detached, as if watching a scene in a film rather than the destruction of my marriage. Silently, I pulled out my phone and took several photos of the discarded clothes. The room number, the gift bag with its receipt partially visible, not because I needed proof of the affair, Nathan had already admitted to that, but because I wanted him to know that I knew everything. That I had seen it with my own eyes. That there would be no more lies between us. Then I did something that surprised even myself. Instead of bursting into the bedroom or fleeing in tears, I took a seat in the armchair by the window and waited. 20 minutes later, the bedroom door opened fully. Adrienne emerged first, wrapped in a hotel robe, her hair tousled. She froze when she saw me, her face draining of color. "Hello, Adrienne," I said quietly. "That's a lovely shade of lipstick. Chanel, isn't it?" Nathan appeared behind her, naked except for his boxers. "Olivia? What the—" His expression shifted from shock to anger. "What are you doing here?" "I think that's my line, don't you?" I remained seated, outwardly calm despite my racing heart. "After all, you're the one who's supposed to be at work right now. At your standing lunch meeting." Adrienne clutched the robe tighter around herself. "I should go. Why?" I asked. "We're all adults here. In fact, I have some questions for both of you. For instance, does Marcus know about your standing Thursday appointments? Or is he as much in the dark as I was?" "This is between us," Nathan said, stepping protectively in front of Adrienne. "You shouldn't have come here, Olivia. And you shouldn't have charged your little love nest to our joint credit card." I stood up finally, my voice steady. Amateur move, Nathan. I expected better from a financial analyst. Adrian looked at Nathan in alarm. You used your joint account? Are you insane? He also uses our anniversary as his phone password, I told her. Romantic, isn't it? Almost as romantic as that necklace he bought you. I nodded toward the gift bag. Tiffany's? Let me guess. The heart pendant from their new collection? Nathan's always been predictable with jewelry. Olivia, stop, Nathan said, his voice low. Let's talk about this at home like rational people. Rational? I laughed. Was it rational to lie to my face for months? To tell me last night that you'd ended things when you were planning to meet her today? To risk your career by sleeping with your boss's wife? Adrian's head snapped toward Nathan. You told her you ended things with me? The look on Nathan's face confirmed it, and Adrian's expression hardened. You told me you were going to leave her. That you were just waiting for the right time? He told you what? My calm facade cracked slightly. That he loves me, Adrian said, a hint of cruelty in her voice. That you two haven't been happy for years. That you're too focused on your career to give him what he needs. I turned to Nathan, who had the decency to look ashamed. Is that true? Were you planning to leave me? He ran a hand through his hair, his expression calculating again. Not like this. I wanted to do it properly. How considerate. I picked up my purse. Well, I've taken enough of your precious time together. Adrian, you might want to call Marcus when you get a chance. He'll be receiving some interesting photos this afternoon, and he might have questions. You wouldn't, she whispered, all bravado gone. Why not? You didn't hesitate to destroy my marriage. Why should I protect yours? I moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Nathan? Don't bother coming home tonight. The locks will be changed by the time you try. His face reddened. That's my house too, Olivia. You can't just lock me out. Actually, I can. The brownstone is in my name, remember? Another one of your predictable mistakes. You insisted we keep it that way for tax purposes. I smiled thinly. I'm sure your girlfriend has a comfortable couch. As I walked out, I heard Adrian's voice, sharp with accusation. You said the house was in both your names. You said we could live there after the divorce. The last thing I saw before the door closed was Nathan's face, a mixture of rage, humiliation, and the dawning realization that his carefully constructed deception was unraveling in spectacular fashion. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and the systematic dismantling of a 6-year marriage. I hired Patricia Levinson, a divorce attorney known for her ruthlessness with unfaithful spouses. Nathan retained James Mendez, equally formidable, but hampered by the clear evidence of infidelity and the fact that our prenuptial agreement included a fidelity clause, something Nathan had insisted on. Ironically enough, he's trying to claim that the affair was a symptom of our marital problems. Not the cause, Patricia told me during a strategy meeting in her downtown office. But the credit card receipts, hotel confirmation emails, and your witness statement put him in a difficult position. Not to mention the photos. I'd sent exactly one photo to Marcus Hayes, just enough to make it clear what his wife and my husband had been doing, without being graphic. His response had been swift and merciless. Nathan was fired the next day. Adrienne's curatorial position at the Art Institute mysteriously eliminated shortly after. Marcus is pushing for a quick, quiet divorce, Patricia continued. He's suggested a settlement that would essentially buy their silence about the whole affair. He doesn't want this getting out in their social circles. And Nathan? What does he want? Half the value of the brownstone, your joint investments, and a portion of your future royalties from the books you edited during the marriage. I laughed humorlessly. Of course he does. He won't get it, Patricia assured me. Not with what we have on him. We're pushing for the full enforcement of the prenup, plus damages for emotional distress. While the legal battles raged, I immersed myself in work, taking on additional manuscripts to keep my mind occupied. Zoe checked on me daily, bringing food, wine, and a sympathetic ear whenever I needed it. Have you heard from him? She asked one evening, a month after the hotel confrontation. We were sitting on my back deck, watching the sunset over the neighboring rooftops. The brownstone felt emptier without Nathan, but also somehow cleaner, as if his betrayal had been a toxin finally purged from its walls. He texted yesterday, I admitted, asked if we could talk in person. Said he misses me. And what did you say? Nothing. I blocked his number. I swirled the wine in my glass. Did you know he and Adrian broke up? Apparently, once he lost his job and his claim to the house, he wasn't such a catch anymore. Marcus took her back? No, but he's paying her a generous settlement to go away quietly. Last I heard, she's moving to New York. I sighed. Nathan, meanwhile, is staying with his parents in Lake Forest until the divorce is finalized. How very humiliating for him, Zoe said with a hint of satisfaction. His mother called me, Catherine. She wanted to know if I would consider reconciliation. I shook my head at the memory. I told her I'd rather set myself on fire. Good for you. Zoe raised her glass. To new beginnings. I clinked my glass against hers. To new beginnings. 2 months after the hotel confrontation, I received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a handwritten letter from Nathan, 10 pages of apology, explanation, and pleas for another chance. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he wrote toward the end, but I love you, Olivia. I always have. What I did was unforgivable, but if you could find it in your heart to give me another chance, I swear I would spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I read the letter twice, searching for some emotion within myself. Anger, satisfaction, even a flicker of the love I'd once felt for him. There was nothing. Just a hollow weariness and the certainty that whatever we'd had was irretrievably broken. That night, I called Nathan from a blocked number. He answered on the first ring. Olivia? His voice was eager, hopeful. I got your letter, I said. I meant every word. Please, can we meet? Talk about this in person? There's nothing to talk about, Nathan. It's over. Liv, please. I did love you, I interrupted him. Completely, without reservation. You were my partner, my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world. I know, and I threw it all away. I was selfish and stupid, and I would do anything, let me finish. My voice was calm, certain. I didn't call to reconcile. I called because I wanted you to know something. I'm okay. Despite everything you did, despite how thoroughly you betrayed me, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I'm happy. You're happy? He sounded genuinely confused, as if my happiness without him was inconceivable. Yes. And that's the real revenge, Nathan. Not the divorce settlement, not the house, not even watching your affair implode. It's the fact that I'm happier without you than I ever was with you. You have no power over me anymore. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Goodbye. Nathan, I said finally. Olivia, wait. I hung up, set my phone down on the kitchen counter, and felt a sense of peace wash over me. The pain wasn't gone completely. It might never be. But it no longer defined me. I had survived the betrayal, the heartbreak, the dismantling of the life I'd thought we were building together. And in the rebuilding, I had discovered a strength I hadn't known I possessed. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Under the terms of our prenuptial agreement and the evidence of his infidelity, Nathan received only a small fraction of our joint assets. The brownstone remained mine, along with my full pension and future royalties. He was forbidden from contacting me except through our lawyers. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd found a job at a smaller firm in Minneapolis, a significant step down from his previous position, but at least a fresh start away from the scandal. I wished him well, not out of forgiveness, but because holding on to bitterness would only hurt myself. A year to the day after I discovered the messages on Nathan's phone, I received a package at my office. Inside was a first edition of my favorite novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, with a simple note, for new beginnings. And I donated the book to the Chicago Public Library's rare book collection, but kept the note as a reminder, not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd found in the aftermath, my own resilience, my worth, and the knowledge that sometimes the perfect revenge isn't about hurting the person who hurt you. It's about healing yourself so completely that they become irrelevant to your happiness. That evening, I met Zoe for dinner at a new restaurant overlooking Lake Michigan. She raised her glass in a toast. "To the strongest woman I know," she said. "And to whatever comes next," I smiled, clinking my glass against hers. To whatever comes next, as the sun set over the water, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I felt a sense of possibility unfurling before me, a future unburdened by betrayal, unmarked by someone else's lies. The revenge I'd once craved had transformed into something far more powerful, the freedom to write my own story, on my own terms. And that, I realized, was the most perfect revenge of all.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.